I'm very thrilled to be here on this occasion. But it's not without ambivalence that I hand over the award. And it's not simply because I can only barely lift up the award with my one hand. And it's certainly not because I have any ambivalence about LIASA and the worthiness of the first recipient. But I do have some problem with awards. And I have a double problem in this case. I like to think that what we did in the struggle, we did because that's who we wanted to be. Because it was unbearable to live in a society where there was so much injustice, that our dignity as human beings was being affronted every single day by the kind of country we were living in. And also because in the course of the struggle we met up with such marvelous people, there were lots of people who weren't so marvelous, the mixture of humanity that constituted our country and constituted our freedom struggle. But we never felt that there should be a particular award other than democracy, freedom, a new constitution, a Bill of Rights. And in a sense, that is the award of awards. It's an award to all of us. And an award that all of us contributed to in one way and another, because in the end, all South Africans had to look each other in the eyes and begin through that very process of achieving a new constitution, to begin looking with dignity at each other as equals, respecting one another, with our diversity, our differences, and beginning to actually enjoy the fact that we look different, we spoke different, we had different ideas. Instead of that becoming clubs and daggers and swords to smite each other with, it became part of the vitality of this wonderful nation that is not quite there yet, but we're moving towards the wonderful nation that would be. So in that sense, to single out this person or that person or the other person for an award is almost contradicting the fact that it's been such a collaborative venture and that we do these things because they're important in themselves. And then just to add to the sense of ambiguity, to have an award named after me, and here am I, almost like a brand, the Albie Sachs brand, congratulating the recipient of the award, award in my name. So these are the ambiguities that I feel, and I want to share them with you. And it's been an amazing year for me when I left the court. I mean, it sounds like a huge brag, but it is a huge brag. I've got 6 awards this year alone, and we're only September. And it's lekker. and maybe we shouldn't be too serious all the time. And maybe we should single out some individuals. And if I can just say, I don't know if the other 4 persons are in the hall today. Are they with us today? The organizers know. Are any of them here? Because I'd like to ask them to stand up if any of them are here. And I do that partly because I've been runner-up, and it's lousy to be runner-up. It should be fantastic. You're one of the 5 people who singled out, but somehow you feel your name's been mentioned and somebody else became the first. You know, you're like the princesses at the beauty pageants, and you've got to laugh and smile and look happy, and the winner is supposed to cry a little bit and be a little bit surprised. In any event, so this is, but the part that I think moves me the most is through you, through this process, you're trying to distill some of the key elements, the key ideas of what it means to be a librarian. You're not just a technician who's looking after books and making sure that they're properly registered and they come back and they're not destroyed or stolen. You are doing all that, of course, but you are part of the humanity and the citizenship of our society, and very, very key people. And maybe it's particularly fitting that somebody who played a role in the most difficult times, who stood up, who showed courage, who showed a commitment then, should be the first recipient of this award. I think makes it particularly pleasant and worthy occasion for me to be associated with. I'm quickly just going to, as I finish, carry on the story of 90-day detention. I'm writing on that piece of paper. A young policeman taking it to the local librarian, and I'm imagining the librarian feeling absolutely delighted. You know, young policemen want to read Moby Dick. A young policeman wants to read Don Quixote by Cervantes. Wow, you know, we're really getting somewhere in this country. And when I came out of detention after that, and I might say the order of the court was overturned on appeal by the Chief Justice saying, just because the person in detention used to have books before he was detained doesn't mean he's entitled to books in detention now. What if he was used to cigars and champagne before? As though books are like cigars and champagne. Books are one's lifeblood. They are central to your imagination, your connection with the world. They're not just pleasures. They can be pleasant, but they're much more than that. In any event, when I came out of detention eventually after 168 days, I never went anywhere without books. I would hide books in my raincoat pocket, under the bed. You know, like some people who've got a drinking problem are supposed to hide little flasks away. I would hide books away. I never wanted to be caught without a book. I was terrified of being caught without a book. And that went on until 11 years later, I was blown up. I ended up flying from Mozambique, first class for the first time in my life, unconscious, to London. And as I recovered slowly. I couldn't bear even to watch the TV. I remember Wimbledon was on and Ivan Lendl was playing, and the tense, muscular. I couldn't bear the tension in all that. I could watch billiards and snooker. It was the only game that wasn't violent. And eventually I said, okay, now's my chance to catch up with serious reading. I'm going to have lots of time as I recuperate. And a book was brought to me, and I read a few pages. I put it down. I said, well, let me wait a bit. I waited a week. I struggled. I waited a month, 2 months, 3 months. I couldn't read. I thought, what's happening to me? I grew up with books, my lifeblood. And here I've got all the time in the world, and I can't read books. Wait till I get out of hospital. I came out a few months later. A year passed, I still couldn't read a serious book. It was something unconscious. I was trying to work out what is going on here. And I came to the conclusion that my life had become more interesting than any book I could read. To wake up without an arm, to be part of this amazing freedom struggle in South Africa, it was all like too much. And until somehow I'd sorted that out in my head, in my imagination, I couldn't allow anybody else to occupy that imaginative space with their ruminations, their intelligence, their wondering. I told the story to librarians in Cape Town after I came back to South Africa. They were so dismayed. Here this great book lover telling librarians he can't read a book. And to some extent, to this day, the only books that I read, if I'm not on a jury where I have to read a book to see if I get a prize or not, are detective stories, thrillers. I don't know why I can read in that enclosed space. Happily, the story doesn't end there. just under 2 weeks, under 4 years ago, I became a daddy again. And little Oliver, we named him after the airport. Little Oliver, to my total delight and joy, adores books. I sometimes say, Oliver, can I tell you a story? No, Daddy, I want a book. And it's not just a book, it's his favorite books. And I heard him the other night with his mother, Vanessa, and he bargains with her now because he doesn't want to go to sleep. And he said, I want 9 books. Now, that's not bad. A 4-year-old, he wants 9 books. And what is it? He loves his DVDs. There's no competition between the two. There's room enough in his head for the Image and the CBB, beautiful programs from BBC for children, DVDs. He loves that. But there's something very special. The book, the last thing before he goes to sleep, it's that contact. And a book is something physical. He can hold it in his hand, he can turn the pages, he can feel in control in a way. He is turning the pages, he's anticipating the next page, he's getting that thrill and enjoyment of participating with his mommy and sometimes his daddy in that story. So there will always be a very, very special place for the book. Whether it's in that physical form, made from paper, whatever it is, whether it's an iPod, whether it's been converted electronically, whether it's a book that a blind person is being read to, can hear through sound, or somebody driving to work picks up. Books are knowledge, information, fun, imagination, a contact with our fellow human beings. And librarians are the principal custodians of all that. You don't today have to risk 90-day detention and much worse treatment than I got to make your contribution to a dignified, free South Africa. Librarians aren't just people who've got a very worthy job, as you might get anywhere in the world. In South Africa, librarians have that very, very special role because we've been so divided as a nation. It's librarians that can connect up the knowledge that before was reserved just for some. The people who are kept separate. How many libraries aren't there where it's almost the only place where young people from very impoverished circumstances can go to study quietly, to connect up with their books, to feel safe, to feel in a world of knowledge, not of shouting and of difficulty, where the lights go out, where everything is turbulent. A place of sanctuary, a place of knowledge and information. You are the precious custodians of all these wonderful things. And so, from that point of view, I'm as thrilled as any human being can be that my name is associated through me, all of us who are involved in the struggle, with this particular award. And I'm very, very happy that you are the first recipient, and I think it's now your turn to say a few things to the audience.